And we are live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Bigfoot Odyssey's Late Show. I'm your host, Kerry Arnold. With me, as always, my trusty co-host, Mr. Bradley Hatcher. How are you, sir?
I'm tired. How are you, Kerry?
I was okay, but I got over it. Joining us, guest hosting tonight, creator of Central Florida Bigfoot on YouTube. He is Mr. Matt Larson. Welcome, Matt.
I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to be able to meet Justin personally and find out more about his filmmaking. He's inspired me.
Well, our guest, a man who needs a little introduction, especially with this crowd. He's the creator of Mountain Beast Mysteries. You can find him on YouTube. Jusin Chernipeski, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I know the last time was a little not very good, was it?
No, I had the worst internet connection, and I could barely hear you guys, and the screens were black. So,
well, I call those non-shows. It was the best non-show that I think we've ever had, and I wasn't there. I was actually driving home from West Texas, but Matt filled in for me. And since we had you on here, I really wanted to get Matt back because I know, Matt's a filmmaker. You make probably, as far as the Bigfoot subject is concerned, to me, you got some really, really good stuff. Every time I sit down and watch, I watch it all the way through. And I can't say that about a lot of videos, but it's the production quality that makes me want to sit and watch it. And you make me interested in just you sitting there doing nothing. And
isn't that the truth?
You somehow make it interesting. Yeah, Brad actually made that comment that, just you sitting there eating, you make it. I don't know.
Oh, you were putting the saw together, and it was so well thought out. And I was actually watching, going, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And I caught myself going, "Wow, I'm enjoying this," which was that's pretty good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, there was a lot of shots in the last film where I'm just sitting there eating. I noticed that when I was done making it. I'm like, I need more. I need more content in this.
Well, before we really get into this, I want to remind everybody in the chat, we try to keep it family around here, so we appreciate you guys keeping it clean for us. There are kids watching. And we have the best moderators on YouTube. If you want to support some Mountain Beast Mysteries, Justin has a GoFundMe. You can find a link to that in the description. Obviously, Justin appreciates everyone's support. Bigfoot Odyssey supports Mountain Beast Mysteries, of course. And so let's get into this. I want to talk to you, Justin, about, I'll go first because I'm not going to get into a word in after these guys get started. Your recent stuff. Now, this last little expedition you did, that was just kind of a tester, wasn't it?
Yeah, I had some time and I wanted to kind of attempt going out to that area with nothing but a backpack and seeing how long I could go for realistically. And it turns out it's not that long. So I had to go back to the drawing board and figure something else out. So like you've seen in one of my more recent videos, I picked up an old Nissan Xterra, so I'm going to be rigging that thing out to do the expedition in.
So, is that all you figured out? Was that you weren't going to make it very long? Is anything else that you can share with us that you're willing to share with us?
I mean, after going to that area multiple times, a part of me feels, despite that area having visual encounters, people have ran into them there. I just don't get the feeling that I'm going to have a real significant encounter of any kind. I really want to find that cave. That's my main goal. I want to find that cave that people talk about. But there's an area that I was hiking to quite often in the spring. If you go back to my videos last April or May, where more weird things were happening. It seems to be a much better spot, and I actually get a feeling something crazy could happen here. So,
do you think they move around and they're just there at a certain time of year? Possibly, you just have to catch them.
Well, the way I know it, the way I understand it from what Ken Walker, the taxidermist, told me, is that they mostly frequent that area that I hike to in the winter. So they'll hide out deep in the mountains there. And, for the most part, that's where they'll stay when there's snow on the ground. but that's all speculative. I don't really know if there's any truth to that.
Right. The I mean, you're not doing this in the wintertime, are you?
I've thought about it. I've thought about I thought about skiing in there. I've thought about like snowshoeing into there or taking a snowmobile or something.
Any thoughts about possibly trapping or killing your own food there, or you just plan on bringing it all with you?
I mean, you could definitely fish, but that would just add a whole nother element and distraction, like to the Bigfoot thing, right? Like you'd be way more focused on finding food than you would be looking for Bigfoot.
Right. No doubt.
That food that you're eating looks like you might want to try fishing. When I say you mix it up with the hot water and filter the water, is it any good?
If you're constipated, you're going to be really lucky to have those meals. Really happy to have them.
Awesome.
That's a little too much information.
What the old TMI, right? But that's good to know.
It is.
Hey,
It is.
I just want to help people, you know?
Yeah.
Well, you're very helpful that way.
Yeah, absolutely. You're doing a fantastic job. One more thing that I was kind of wondering, you're going out there by yourself. Now, you have to put a lot of thought into producing something that you feel like people are going to watch. And how much time, because I mean, you're out there for a purpose to make a film, but I mean, you kind of have to balance that out, right? With paying attention to what's going on and actually thinking about shots and setting things up and walking back and getting the camera and doing things over and over again.
Yeah. To be honest, a lot of it's not really thought out. And I just kind of go into it. Yeah, like I'm shooting from the hip most of the time. I'll try and film as much as possible, like have the camera running as much as possible. And I know like I want shots of me like walking and exploring and doing things, because other than like filming Bigfoot itself, that's all you can really do and get some nice B-roll,
Right.
some scenic shots. But it really comes together when you start editing it. And that's when I feel like I do most of the thinking, is when I'm trying to put it together on the computer and like finding the right music and
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I know there's a lot of things like when we go to shoot a film, I've got kind of an idea of the way I want it to go in my head before we even get there. And then I end up editing and it's not exactly how I wanted it to go. So some things get left out. Is there anything like in this last one that you wanted to get in there that you maybe thought about but had to leave out?
I mean, there's always like whenever you're editing a film that has to be a certain length, there's always going to be stuff you leave out. But I take out the uninteresting stuff and I try and present it in a way where the audience can feel kind of how I was feeling at that time. So I do my best to try and like recreate that. So like, for instance, there's a part in the last film where I find that area where all these trees are like knocked over, and I determined it to be an avalanche path, and I'm still like, for me that's 100% what it is. And there's a lot of people who still argue with me about that, even though they weren't there.
Right.
But like I ended up filming that whole thing, like the camera was on the whole time. I had to leave a lot of that out because there was just too much footage. So after like I released the film on YouTube, I made another video where it was just like unedited footage of that, just so people can see. Like,
I got you.
And I thought that was really good that you did that too, by the way, because it helped a lot of your how you were looking at it, and it showed how you originally thought, oh, it was Bigfoot, and then when you kept seeing it and everything was in the same pattern, and you know, I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I was quite nervous at first. I actually like had the feeling that it could be Sasquatch.
Well, yeah, you pulled out the shotgun. Yeah,
you're there. You've got all the context, and I think that's what a lot of people are missing, is that, you know, when you determine something, especially like the avalanche thing, that you're there, you can see all the evidence, and a lot of those things are really hard to capture on camera. Are you using the body cam, the action cam? You using the Sony?
I didn't use the body cam. I didn't use it on that trip, but it's a great idea. I can see myself definitely using it in the future. Just having that shoulder strap, like to mount it on, that's a great idea.
Yeah, that point it backwards. I think that's when they move, is when you're not looking. So that's my whole thing about using the body cams. All right, I'm gonna shut up and let Matt have a minute or two. Mr. Lawson.
Boy, I don't even know where to. I don't even know where to start. But since Bradley and I went on the last time, I was able to catch up on all your films and see the diversity of, switching cameras from the real stylized to the second film where you get out of the car and everything's going nuts, to where the crazy, the trailer gets burned and you just kind of let a camera roll on the top of your car. All of that stuff I really, really enjoyed, and it got more into a real documentary and not so much a fine art piece, because the very first film I saw, it was very much a fine art piece. And I was telling Bradley how you're as much a writer as you are a filmmaker. And I was interested in how much of the writing and thought are you making notes when you're camping and you're eating? And it seems like, because you'll sit and think and ponder, and there's very little hiking, like running camera while you're moving. And my stuff's all about moving. And I never think about shooting the pause. And that's what inspired me so much, because I feel like I'm probably more with you on your journey than I am on my own when I'm physically there running camera for 45 minutes straight and just post it.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about that? On how are you writing while you're doing that and thinking on?
No. Like the last film, there was no writing at all, and the narrative track for that, I actually just made it up on the spot. Like, I just started talking into the microphone and I didn't write any of it. So it turned out all right. But like for the first film I made, the Wild Man, My Search for Sasquatch, that one I wrote out a bunch of little script pieces on like a notepad, and I don't know.
Did you do that?
It sounded all right.
Oh, it was great. It was fantastic. You didn't do it in the field. You did it when you got back. It was all post.
Yeah, it was all after the trip.
Wow. Yeah. So camera wise, I'm shooting with a Lumix bridge. I'm using the FZ 2500, and it has that 25 to 480 range. I think it is. It's just, to me, the ultimate Bigfoot camera. I'm pushing it hard, but I don't get any money for it. But I noticed my big question was camera body, best camera settings you find, and your favorite lenses. I kind of threw that all into one. And then as I scanned your channel, I think I started seeing you got everything.
Well, I've gone through a lot of cameras, and I don't mean like I've destroyed a lot of cameras. I mean, I've bought and sold so many different cameras just to like try and find the perfect camera. The last two cameras I've been using was a Sony a6000 and an a5100. And those are the two cameras that I used to make that last film. And the quality on those, even though it's just 1080p, it's not 4K, the quality is really good, and you get really good low light performance, and they have surprisingly good autofocus. But before that, I was using like back when I started the channel, I was using a Panasonic FZ300, which is like the lower end model of what you had. And it has a 25 to 600 millimeter lens. And like, other than its really terrible low light performance, you get like a really grainy image in the dark. It was the perfect camera, Right. And it was weather sealed as well, so you could take it out in the rain. It was a great camera.
Yeah. Light performance. The Sony 6000 is really good. That's the one my wife shoots with. So I was shooting with a Sony A7 before, and literally almost got fired on the job shooting with that thing. The autofocus, when you're doing someone walking at you and you would be shooting them, and if you slightly get off center with the composition, like, from here, the focus would jump. And I just couldn't. Operator error. I know there's a tracking, and I worked with all that. I never could get that camera to bite on autofocus. So I found myself, once I jumped to the Lumix, the Panasonic, it was just like, oh my God, this is heaven, because it just knows where to go, from macro to infinity. And
well, if you guys could recommend a camera to anyone right now, which one would it be? Anyone filming in the field, just for clarity, that's looking for Bigfoot, actually, what would you recommend they use? And how do you recommend they would shoot with it, Justin?
I would say to get that Panasonic FZ300, because for the price, it's really cheap, and you get a very long lens, a powerful lens, and it's weather sealed, and it shoots 4K. So that's what I would get.
Do you shoot in 4K a lot, Justin?
I used to shoot everything in 4K, but now I've gone back to shooting in 1080p just because it's way easier.
Well, it's so heavy for editing too.
I know, and the memory cards fill up so fast, it's just not really practical.
Well, no one's watching in 4K. You can't upload to YouTube in 4K. So,
yeah.
Matt, what do you think?
Well, I think my whole mission jumping into the Bigfoot realm was, and Justin and I haven't never even spoke before this night, but my interest has come jumping in the field, having knee surgery a couple of years ago, being laid up for 5 weeks, starting to watch all these channels, and then realizing, what the hell are these people shooting with? I mean, oops, sorry, $5. But what are they doing? So my whole goal, I think, is coming out as a media person, jumping in the search or starting my own journey, would just get the iPhones and the GoPros out of people's hands. If you want to wear a GoPro on your shoulder or mount one on your back or wear a body cam when you're being chased, great. We all want to see you being eaten. But unless you're putting your iPhone, and I don't even care if it's a 12, unless it's on a stabilizer, you're not going to get anything. And if you're shooting with a GoPro, think about it. How big are you, Carrie, at 30 feet with a GoPro?
Yeah.
And then think about blowing that image up. You're never going to get anything to prove to anybody that you have anything. And since I jumped over to the Lumix, and especially my camera, I can walk and shoot on a gimbal. I'm using a Feiyu 4000, Feiyu gimbal 4000. It's a heavy rig, but it's worth it. I mean, I'm shooting wide, and if I see something 60 yards out, I can zoom right in, and I see what everybody else calls a Bigfoot on an iPhone, but I can actually reach out and touch the stump, and say, oh, that's a stump, and I can dismiss it right away and move on. So for me, I like what Justin said with the, just get even the Sony 6000 would be a good camera, but get something better than an iPhone. And people don't understand, when you're shooting 4K and you're shooting 1080p with an iPhone or whatever, there's toy cameras out there, plastic toy cameras that you can get with high-end sensors now. And just because you have a high-end sensor doesn't make the image good. It's like getting cable. How many people have cable and you think you have fiber optic coming to your house? Well, what happens after it hits your house? You got coax. You got coax running to all your decks. So are you getting, so 4K, unless you're watching it back on 4K and YouTube is playing at 4K and I don't know. I think it's overrated. Overrated.
I think researchers should film in 4K if they're looking for Bigfoot, just in case they happen to catch something. At least they have it in that higher quality. You may not be able to see it, immediately, but I mean, if they catch something epic, right, be as clear as possible. That's just how I feel about researchers and doing it. So I would suggest anyone get a 4K camera.
And I don't think everyone understands the 4K, what that means when you shoot in 4K and what you're able to do in post. So when you bring it into your frame and you bring it into a 16:9 frame and you think you see something, 4K allows you to come in literally 3-4 times, where an iPhone, you're at 1080p right there. You're at full frame. Once you start enlarging, you lose quality. 4K, you can set it to fill the frame, and then you can literally come all the way in like this. And that's what I'm doing on my shots. And I think Justin can speak to that too. So,
yeah, I used to do that a lot with like the FZ300. I would have shots that were on a tripod. They were just still shots. And I would add an effect where I would just do like a slow kind of creep into the shot. Mm-hmm. And it would look really cool and kind of creepy. But like 4K lets you do that. But at the same time, what I always tell people is that like a crappy 4K won't look as good as a high quality 1080p.
Right.
Yeah. And even like before we started the show, I was looking at some old footage, and I used to have this camera called a Canon 50D, and it came out right before like the DSLRs were becoming popular for video. And it wasn't even designed to take video. Like when you got it out of the box, it only took photos. But there's a company called Magic Lantern, and they hacked the camera and developed this software for it that allows it to shoot video, and it can shoot raw HD video. And I was looking at the footage from that thing that I had shot on it, and it looks better than like a lot of modern cameras. I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
Yeah, no, settings for us, it was a lot of trial and error, and I'm sure it's that way for a lot of people, you know, and the type of look you're going for. You know, we're not looking for Bigfoot with what we do. We're making films, so it's, you know, we kind of want more of a cinema quality. So, you know, increase the bit rate and lower the megapixel. You know, sometimes we'll shoot in 720 just to get that hazy cinema quality. You know, we shot the last one in 1080p, but we did it at 17 megabytes per second. And so you just move a little bit, anything in the background is just white, you know, so it kind of to me, it just gives it a better look if you're doing that. Not good for looking for Bigfoot, by the way. So it does matter. And Matt, you do classes, don't you?
I do. We have an Airstream business, and my wife and I are fine art photographers, and I come at it from a fine art side also. So I'm not only in the media, 35 years media, I also have 20 years exhibiting fine art prints, and we work in historic processes doing salt prints and stuff. So through that business, when art isn't selling, I do an iPhone class. My wife does cyanotypes. I also do wet plate collodion. We're doing cyanotype. So we do a mixture of the old processes 150 years ago, and we like to mix that. So I'm sitting in a room with 2 digital printers, couple thousand each, and one's an Epson and one's a Canon Pro 1000. And we make all of our, you know, it doesn't matter what we shoot with. It doesn't matter if I shoot, I don't know, Justin, if you're familiar with the Holgas and the Diana camera, the shoot 120. That's what I started 20 years ago, shooting Holga and Diana. So I started off with the real soft, dreamlike black and white landscapes, and that's what I'm known for. And then when I got into Bigfoot, I realized, okay, I got to sharpen up the camera here. And then I went out and started watching films, and you know, it's just nobody has a good, solid picture of a Bigfoot. And so my next question, Justin, you shoot with multiple cameras, and I know you had multiple cameras on you. I know I can speak on this, but I'd like to hear your take. What do you do to get ready for that? You got 4 seconds and you got to grab a camera and lift it up. How prepared are you when you're on your feet walking like that?
Well, I usually have like my main camera on a tripod all the time, and that's what I'm using to like film myself and get all the cinematic shots. But then I'll also have an actual like camcorder on like a sling around me, and I just have it out all the time. And if I do see something, that's what I'll use to film it, because it's just really easy to operate, and I can just point it and zoom in basically.
Right.
I'm sorry, Matt. I was just going to say,
go ahead.
I learned something from all that. I want to get into some Bigfoot stuff, though, for sure.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I'll just kind of kick this off, Justin. Is there any kind of strategy that you put forth? Or are you just going out there to poke and hope that you run into something?
I just want to be out there and exist in nature and see what happens. Like, I don't know, there's so many people trying so many different tactics, which is good. Everyone should be trying different things. We don't really know what works exactly. So I just want to kind of act like a normal human being when I'm out there. You know, I don't want to act like I'm out there on a mission looking for like this thing. I just want to be like existing and camping and making a film. And usually I'm just filming myself. So it doesn't really look like I'm up to anything really suspicious, but
well, let me ask you this. When you came across in your last film the avalanche site, how long did you stay in that area? And I know originally you were a little wigged out by it. You know, walk us through that, you know, how your mind, you know, processed when you first saw it versus, you know, how you were trying to figure it out.
It seemed weird to me because there were a lot of trees in places where there shouldn't be trees, and they were like upside down and they were just smashed and thrown all about. So it looked really weird. And I did think like, holy crap, like I could be walking into the lion's den. And so I started kind of freaking out inside. And then once I kind of got up to higher elevation and was able to get a better look at everything, then it kind of clicked like, oh, okay, like that's definitely what this is, because the angle of the slope was perfect for an avalanche. And that valley, I'm sure, like in the dead of winter, gets a lot of snow. Like it probably gets like multiple meters of snow easily.
Well, how close? I noticed you kept painting up at that ledge. How close was that ledge to you when you were walking through there?
Probably between 200 and 300 yards. Are you talking like that huge cliff?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably like a couple hundred yards.
It's because that was creepy. Every time you pan, I expected to see like a little head pop down and pop back up. I mean, that was so jagged and it was just long and wide, and you know that you just expect something to be peeking out around something.
Yeah, I kept looking up at it and looking to see if something was looking back at me, but there never was anything. And like I had walked past there all throughout that valley, and the only thing I saw that had a heartbeat was a bird.
And that's kind of, was it quiet or was it just birds chirping? Because you said you really didn't see. I think you said you saw grouse and some little critters, but nothing big.
Nothing. There was nothing big at all, and it was like I couldn't really tell if it was quiet because it was so windy. Like you'll notice in the film, a lot of the shots there's no sound; it's just music or me talking, like with a voiceover, because all the audio is just ruined. It was very windy. So that's pretty much all I could hear while I was hiking was the wind blowing into my ear.
Now, did you ever when you're doing that, do you ever have like some sort of audio in your ear to see if you can pick up anything else? Or I didn't know the extent of what all you bring with you.
No,
do you put like an audio out at nighttime when you sleep? Or
I've put out like the Zoom H1 recorder, and just have it recording throughout the night. But on that trip, I really went like extremely light on the gear. I didn't bring much at all. Like I didn't even bring an external microphone for that camera that I was using. I was just recording it all right into the camera. So,
because I noticed you were also carrying a bag, like a duffel bag.
Yeah, I had a dry bag, but it was full of like dehydrated meals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Kind of tasty stuff.
So yeah. What's the plan, Justin? When are you going back, and when can we expect that film?
As soon as the snow melts and the Xterra is finished. So in the spring or the very early summer.
I got you. That's and you are going back to that place, or do you think about going somewhere else? You going back there?
Well, I bought that Xterra to drive back in there, so I have to go.
Yeah. You're kind of committed.
Yeah.
I know. Go ahead, Matt.
I was gonna say, so you're just gonna park it and cut some branches and throw it over it and just use it as a stop refuel station?
No, I'm gonna drive it all the way to the waterfall.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a quad trail, and it's actually kind of a popular trail for like off-roaders. Sometimes you'll see like jacked up Jeeps and Land Rovers moving through there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, that will obviously make it easier to stay that 2 or 3 weeks, because when you were talking about it, I was thinking, my first thing was like a bush plane drop or something like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, and you showed the trails, but I didn't know if you were allowed to actually drive something back in there besides quads or whatnot.
Yeah, you can take whatever you want back there, really. Initially, cool. Like the initial idea for the trip was to like maybe get a helicopter to drop me off in there with a bunch of gear, but that it's way too expensive.
Yeah, that is. Go ahead.
It's nice knowing that if I have a 4x4 vehicle that I can go in there and then I can leave easily enough, right?
Yeah, definitely.
You know, you talk about being expensive, and that's the thing about doing this most of the time is, you know, it's not your regular job, and you know, it's a pastime. So affording it is for any of us that do it. So I would say check out that link in the description, donate to Mountain Beast Mysteries. To me, it's like paying for the film. You're just getting so much back out of it. Those that do contribute, and I can remember when I first talked to you, Justin, you were really, really on the fence about these creatures. And I know it's changed a bit since then. What tell us, and I might have asked you this before, but and I don't remember. What was it that kind of made you lean a little bit more? Is it something that you found or something that you heard?
Nowadays I kind of like to go back to that case that's in the Supernatural Sasquatch film, where we investigated that one guy's property he claimed to have these creatures that were visiting him at night, and they had left the trackway across his yard, and that was probably the creepiest experience that I had, where I couldn't really explain anything that was going on.
Have you run into anything since then? Any kind of evidence as much as you've been out there?
I had a weird encounter in this last spring. It's in a video I made where I'm backpacking into this, like, it's just deep in the mountains. Right. It's not even a real location. There's just a kind of a creek you go along, and then you turn up a smaller creek, and there's some campsites along there for backpackers. But in that video on that trip, I found something that looks like a big track, and it's like the shape of your typical Sasquatch track, but I only found one of them. And then not too long after I found that track, I was walking along the creek, and I heard what sounded like a very loud and distinct rock clacking noise. And I only heard one of them, and it didn't sound like rocks just like falling, like it was just one loud clack, and it was weird. It freaked me out. So I decided in that area where I heard that noise, I would just camp there for the night. So that's what I did.
You know, I guess. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that takes some. It just, I mean, to just, okay, I hear something right here, I'm going to stay.
Well, you know, there's this thing, and I think for most people that don't spend a whole lot of time in the woods or don't go in very much, when you're in there for a period of time, I'd say a day or more, something starts to happen. You start to get a little bit more in tune with what's going on, and in feelings and intuition. You know, the whole nature of it just starts to take over a little bit more. Have you had those feelings of after being out there for a while, you just know there's something near you, whether it be a Sasquatch or a big cat or a bear or whatever, you feel this urgency. You know, I've had this several times, and if you're spend any time in the woods by yourself, it doesn't take a lot to creep yourself out, especially when it gets dark. But have you had that happen on any of these trips?
Sometimes I'll just creep myself out with my thoughts. Like, I'll just be sitting there and I'll imagine things, and then I'll get creeped out, and it'll give me a weird feeling. But I've never felt like that I've sensed actual danger around me. Like, I've come across like bear sign and stuff like that, and I've heard twigs snap and whatever, whistling noises here and there, but I've never felt like I was in danger or about to die.
Or like, have you felt like you're being watched?
No, not really.
That was part of the question. Sorry.
I mean, I imagine if something's watching me, but I don't feel like, I don't know. A lot of people get the feeling that they're being watched, like, anywhere. It's kind of like a hard thing to say if they're actually being watched or if their imagination is playing tricks on them.
It's actually a side effect of high levels of EMF. You get that feeling of eyes on you. I know that you've got a lot planned for the future. Can we expect any of the little small films that you do in between anytime soon? You did the
What do
Outlaw. You
you?
did like the Outlaw. If you did that story,
Oh, yeah.
films you do where you're not going out.
Well, right now I'm working on an audio book, which is it's fictional and it's kind of like an anthology thing. So it's comprised of a bunch of short stories about Bigfoot. And like I said, it's fiction, but my plan is to take those stories and turn them into multiple short films and either release them separately or kind of make it as like an anthology film. So it'll be like an actual dramatic movie.
What about anything that's not Bigfoot? You thought about making other films that are in any other veins? A lot.
Yeah, I'm a big like World War II history buff. So my like life goal is to make a World War II movie. So I made a World War II short film a few years ago, and it's actually one of like the most watched World War II short films on YouTube. Like out of all the World War II short films, yeah, it's got over 4 million views. So it's the most watched video on my channel. So I wanna do something like that, but as like a feature length production, make it like a 90-minute film.
Well, your channel is Mountain Beast Mysteries. Do you feel like you're locked into that vein sometimes? Because I've done that here with Bigfoot Odyssey. We put Bigfoot in the title, so I kind of locked us into that.
I'm glad I called it Mountain Beast Mysteries and not something so specific. Like I do want to kind of dip my toes into the UFO field, kind of, and I would love to make a documentary about UFOs and aliens. And I did like that short film. I re-released it on YouTube a couple weeks ago, about a girl who was apparently abducted by aliens here in Alberta. And that was like one of the funnest projects I ever made. I had a blast actually like going to that house and filming that. It was just that was a really creepy thing, like to just be in a room where apparently an abduction occurred. Just thinking about
I bet.
It was weird, yeah.
Have you ever seen a UFO or anything like that?
I've seen a lot of weird stuff in the skies. A lot.
There is. It's pretty remote up there where you are, isn't it?
Yeah, like UFOs and aliens are the one thing I can say that I believe in without seeing one. They have to exist.
Yeah, I think you'd be pretty naive to believe otherwise, whether they're visiting us or not. That's to me, that's the question. Go ahead, Brad.
I was just going to ask you. I know that in several of your films, you interviewed Ken Walker, and he brought up one thing that you kind of focused on. That I guess there was one cave or one site that somebody found some activity, and then was it First Nations just shut it down because
there wasn't activity there. It was a cave that was like recently discovered a few years ago in British Columbia, and it's basically like a big sinkhole. And immediately once it was discovered, the First Nations band claimed it, and it's now like a protected site. So like explorers and spelunkers can't go in there and explore it.
And that was one thing that I guess he was talking about, that if you find something like that, you have to really keep it on the down low so it doesn't get out, so you can still explore it.
Yeah, well, I think it also depends on where it's located too. There are some well-known caves in Alberta that are close to where apparently this one I'm looking for is, that you can go explore usually, but they are like very heavily trafficked. And you know how that works. As time goes on, things get ruined, basically.
Yeah, definitely. How much of the stuff when you interview Ken, are you allowed or asked not to put on film? I got to think there's some really cool stories that come out of that are just help you like go, okay, I really got to see if I can find this thing. I'm hearing too much cool stuff. or scary stuff, or
It's funny because as soon as you show up to Ken's house, he just starts going. So I learned that when I go there, I have to start filming as soon as I get out of the car. Because there's always like that footage of him in the last film. I wasn't even planning on filming that. Like that was just a conversation we were having, and I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna roll the camera and see how this turns out. I didn't even like. I was supposed to do a proper interview where I sat him down and filmed him, but we didn't. We ran out of time just talking. So I'm glad I filmed all that.
That's the best stuff. Brad actually learned that on our trip to Oklahoma. That as soon as he got out, Brad starts asking questions. And,
oh yeah,
and Mark starts going through and telling the stories, and I'm like, no, wait.
and then also the mic picks up stuff from 50 yards away.
Oh yeah, that NG2
when you're filming. Yeah, I got popped on that a couple times.
It's just like this, you know. So it really picks up. I don't know how much this thing helps at all, really. But the rat does work if you happen to use one outside and it's windy. That thing really works
because it was really windy on that Saturday. But yeah, when I met Mark, I just started, all these questions. I had boom, 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 boom. Kurt's like, whoa, stop. Time out. Let's take a break. Go back to your corners. Just because I just had so many questions.
What I like seeing, Carrie, is there's a couple channels out there where they have the cameras. Justin's talking about that when you don't put an external mic on, but they got all the cotton balls glued all over the top. And then there's literally just this mound of, and I'm going, that works. Like I noticed on an iPhone, if you take if you're ever out caught filming with an iPhone, and I did this at a rock concert. When I was a young kid, I photographed rock concerts. I wanted to be a rock and roll photographer. So I got Zeppelin, Kiss, Pink Floyd, Journey. I got them all, just waist up headshots on stage. But modern day, I went to see Kiss about a year ago, and blows out an iPhone, and all I did was take a paper towel, and if you just rip it in a strip about the size of your finger, maybe two, because you want to fold it over the end. If you take your phone and fold it over the end and just fold it over and hold it, it totally acts like a skin cat. It's the same thing, and it knocks the audio down a couple levels, and you get no wind noise whatsoever. So even a paper towel over the top of your camera,
that does work. A paper towel, I've heard that too.
Yeah,
I know I've learned. I've turned my back to the wind, and I'll hold the camera down, point it up. I mean, it gives the subject more confirmation and a lot more stature when you're holding the camera down and kind of up at them when you're doing the interview. And I mean, that's the only way you're ever going to see one of our interviews in the field is from that angle. And the main reason is because it's windy as hell, and I've got my back to it, and I'm trying to keep, or I'll hold my hand up. I did that too.
It's literally like this. You just put it on the end and hold it like that. That's all you got to do, and it's a total windsock. It just knocks all the audio off. You can sit right in front of a bank of speakers at the biggest rock show you ever seen. Your audio will be perfect. You're
giving away the secrets you're supposed to be.
Hey, you know what? My mission is to get people using gear. So if we see a Bigfoot, I don't care who shoots it.
Yes.
Just don't show me something shot on a GoPro that's been enlarged 50 times. I'm tired of it, and I'm going to speak out about it. That's my pet.
We're all tired of it. We're all
tired of it.
I have seen some few questions in the chat here, and we're going to get to those here in just a few minutes. What I will ask you guys is that you ask them again and make sure you put them in caps, because they've already rolled past and I can't go back to them. But we're going to take questions for Justin here in just a few minutes. So go ahead and get those ready. We appreciate that.
Let me ask you this, Justin. When do you think you're going to, or are you going to try to go out on a snowmobile or something like that just to see any other ways, or it seems like you're dead set, or you're committed to the Xterra. What's your next kind of adventure? Yeah, horseback. What's your next adventure?
I mean, I'll be doing some little trips throughout the winter and making other films. For that area with the valley and where the cave is supposed to be, that'll probably just be the Xterra. I mean, I have thought about going in there in the winter, but after seeing that avalanche path, I don't know if I want to.
No doubt.
Yeah, that was pretty intense. Once you said
Yeah.
avalanche, then when you were painting back, you're like, that was a big avalanche, a long avalanche.
This whole
Yeah,
cave. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, once you see the damage it can do and how easily it throws full size trees around like they're toothpicks. Like, you don't want to be anywhere around there.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's what happened to the Dyatlov people.
Here's a question from Scottish
Got
Wild.
crushed. Yeah, we're going to get to those here in just a second. The whole cave thing that you're looking for now, is this something that someone told you was out there, or do you know this cave is there?
I've heard from multiple people that it's out there. One of those people is Ken. Another person is, I'm not going to say his name. He's a dentist from Calgary, and he was associated with another researcher here in Alberta, who also said that he knew about the cave and was told about it by like a hunter. I guess it was a hunter who initially found it. So there are multiple people who know about it. So that's why I'm confident that it's an actual thing, like it's a real cave.
What are your expectations and preparations? I know you have the riot gun that you take with you, but
I probably, like, I'm confident that I won't find anything dangerous in there. The only dangerous thing would be like a 100-foot drop off or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
You know?
Have you mentally prepared yourself to, if you see the cave, because obviously vicinity of where it is?
Yeah.
Have you even gone that far to say, okay, what do you do when you see it off in the distance? How do you approach it? What do you think?
I thought like that if I do see it, like if I see the entrance, I'd probably just hang out outside of it for a while, maybe spend a night or two outside of it before I actually have the guts to go in. Like even doing something like trying to fly a drone inside of it would probably be worthwhile.
You thought about thermal?
I've thought about thermal, but thermal's expensive.
Donate.
I have night vision.
We can get
I have
thermal.
night vision.
Somebody buy Justin a thermal out there for Christmas. Email me. I'll send you a list of the good ones. You can actually get some decent ones for pretty cheap, but you can get the
Scout.
the FLIR 1 Pro that goes with the phone is like the good one's $400, and it's not bad. I mean, at 50 feet, it's pretty clear. But we got a question here. We're going to start with this one from the Scottish Wild Man. It says, Justin, at the start in your Bigfoot journey, you seem to be a non-believer with an open mind on the subject. Where do you stand now? Well done, by the way. Clap, clap, clap.
I wasn't like a non-believer. I was just like a fence sitter. Like
straddler.
I'm just not the kind of person that would usually believe something like Bigfoot without like seeing proof of some kind. But as you hear more anecdotes and read about more encounters and meet people who've had experiences, it's a bit more eye-opening. And
the footprint evidence to me.
Yeah, I found things that look like tracks, and have heard weird noises and witnessed the tree structures like in person. So once you see all that kind of stuff for real, it's good at convincing you that it's probably a real thing.
Well, didn't Ken Walker show you the Sasquatch poo?
Yeah.
That's just listening to him and his experiences, that's, there's a lot there, it seemed like.
Yeah, well, he's very confident when he tells you his stories, and when he like talks about the scat, he's confident that that's what it is. And he had sent a bag of it to John Bindernagel, and I don't know what ended up happening to it, if it just disappeared or not, but I'm pretty sure like the Ken knows people who are like law enforcement people and like forestry workers, and they apparently talk to him like Sasquatch is a real thing too. So it kind of seems like there's this I don't know, kind of secret. I don't know. There's insiders that work for the government, it seems, that Ken knows through his like taxidermy business, and they seem to keep pretty quiet about things. But it makes you, I don't know. It's crazy. It is a mystery, and I don't know. It makes it feel like it's an actual real thing.
Well, Ken is he's not the kind of expert that I talk about on here. I think he has a lot of information. I know he's heard from a lot of people. He's actually coming on for the 12 Days of Christmas. He's gonna be a guest on the show for one of those days. I don't know. Danielle hooked all that up, but yeah, he's a good person to have on your film. He's just good, entertaining stuff. Here's a question from Mr. Lee 3PO. Justin, any further collaboration? One of those things with 401 files. Maybe you could come over to England.
Yeah. We're trying to get Ben from 401 Files to come to Canada next summer to go on like an expedition. So other than that, we'll be like doing regular Skype interviews, kind of how we've been doing on my channel. Just talking about all the mysteries of the world, not just Bigfoot. But it is the dream to kind of fly him out here because he really wants to see Canada. Like the wilderness in the UK is significantly different than what we have here in the Canadian Rockies. So
a tad.
Yeah.
A tad different. That would be cool.
Sorry, I'm getting my ducks in a row here. Oh, look who it is. I'm not going to mess with him today.
Uh-oh, Leon.
Leon, Bigfoot Okanagan. What is the best setting to have on your camera when filming at dusk? Put on the camera, wouldn't it?
Well, when the light starts fading, you want to have your aperture wider. You want to have a wide aperture. So I don't know, it gets kind of confusing, like trying to explain aperture. So like the lower the f-stop number on your camera, the wider the aperture is. So if it's like 1.8 or 2.8, it's pretty wide and it'll let in more light. And if you have it down to like f16 or f18, then it's not going to let as much light in. So you want it like wider open. And also you can boost your ISO setting. So if you're filming at night, you can have a high ISO setting like 1600 or 3200, but I've kind of taught myself never to go above like 800. And if I have to go above 800, I'm using a light. Just because it ends up, you get a ruined image. It gets all grainy and there's lots of noise.
All right. Hope that answers that question. EM Tatel, I hope I'm saying that right. Not Tattle, Tatel. Please ask Justin if he plans on going any other investigations like the supernatural one. Any other plans to do the supernatural parts?
Yeah, I was gonna do the third part of the supernatural Sasquatch film, and so I had filmed an interview with Ashley Veenstra, who used to be associated with Todd Standing, which is like, that's something you'd never want to do, right? Is be associated with Todd Standing. And there was, like, I can't say much, but there was a bunch of crap that went down between her and him. And she knows that she had made a big mistake. And so there's just a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with that whole situation that I can't really talk about. But as of now, that's kind of on hold.
Right.
Because, like, I did film an interview and I released a little clip from it. But that was back in the summer, and I don't know when that will come out. But I would like to explore it further, for sure. I'm open to anything.
Well, we're hoping that whole situation turns out positive for her, for sure.
Yeah.
Trev Cornwall, one thing that worried me about the valley that you're looking at, there seemed to be a distinct lack of fauna prey there. Did that bother you at all when you noticed that? Love your work, Justin.
That doesn't. I mean, fauna moves around, right? Like, they don't stay in one spot. That area, like, not too far away from there, is like full of elk and sheep and stuff like that. So they don't have to be in the same spot as me at the same time, right? They move around. So do I.
Sure. one thing I noticed and it always creeped me out. And when I got creeped out is when the woods got completely silent.
Oh gosh, yes.
Get into a low spot, especially like where I hunted. There was this one low spot. It would get fog. It would settle in it sometimes, and there was no noise there. I mean, it was always quiet. And I think that's what creeped me out, was the lack of noise. You notice birds chirping and crickets and things like that, don't you? And when it gets quiet, does that bother you at all when things get quiet?
Not really. A lot of the times we imagine, like, when it gets really quiet, that there's something out there, like, watching us. But it could also just be you have done something to make all the animals go quiet.
That's probably
the
case most of the time.
Yeah.
You mean we're the predator in the woods that makes everything go quiet?
Probably.
Yeah. No, that's and I was saying that sarcastically because, when you're walking through, I mean, that's logical, right? Now, when you're in a stand and the feeder goes off and the dove or the quail, whatever that normally comes in, or all the birds, and nothing moves, that'll get you a little creepy because something's there. You just do. And then you start, going back to films and videos, and Rutrow, is something behind me.
Yeah, all these big tough guys getting creeped out in the woods over nothing.
Exactly. Exactly.
Roxanne, this is Roxanne Corey. She won the drone, the Bigfoot Odyssey drone. By the way, I hope you're getting a lot of good use out of that, Roxanne. If you get amazing crystal clear footage of Sasquatch, are you going to be hesitant to share it?
I'll probably instantly put it on YouTube.
Instantly.
And put about 1,000 ads on it.
every 2 seconds.
All my hard work will finally be for something,
Yeah, no doubt. Every 2 seconds. I think like I've mentioned this. If I run into it in the woods, I'm going live right then, immediately. That way I'll just know that everybody knows this is the real deal. Nothing's edited, nothing's fixed, and it's going to be hard if there's an outside influence keeping things under wraps, it's going to be hard for them to do anything with that. So I think just anyone that has a Bigfoot channel that goes into the woods needs 1,000 subscribers for that very reason right there.
Yeah, I thought, like, if I did film it, I would either just release the uncut footage first and then make a film about it.
Right.
Or vice versa, make the film first and then release the uncut footage after. I just don't know which route I would go, but I just think I would put it out there.
Mm-hmm. I think he's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I've thought about it so many times, like if I should like contact people or like figure out like what to do or like go into hiding or like I don't know, like you can get really crazy about it, but I think I would just throw it on YouTube and see how many people steal it and post it on their channels.
Oh, that's gonna happen.
Right before you show the picture, do a Ridge Wallet commercial. Like, here it is, getting ready to go. You hear the noise, and there you go. And then do another commercial, right? You just, You
got to build it up. To me,
no shame.
As important as the footage, so you get this crystal clear footage, you got to tell the story of how you got it. Because what happens when someone just throws an image that's decent of Sasquatch out there with nothing to go with it? It just gets plastered and lambasted. And I think that's the biggest part of it, is trusting the person that is putting this information out. You got to know who they are. You got to know that they're straight up, that they're not trying to pull the wool over your eyes, that what they've put out there is the real deal. And telling the story of how that happened, it's almost, to me, it's a no-brainer. You got to do that. So put the evidence, but tell the story.
And so you have such a good voice when you do that. Like we said earlier, when you put that saw together, I was mesmerized.
Calm.
And in the middle of it, I Googled, where can I find a saw like that? That was really cool. But just your storytelling is very soothing in a way
that's true.
It just makes I don't know how you do it, but it makes it very interesting.
I watch a lot of movies.
I just bought the little bike chain that was on the Facebook ad that literally was like a chain to a bike. Have you seen that one with the handle grips on the side?
Yeah,
and
I've
it's
seen
the
that.
same thing. You just work it like, either this way or that way, but it's the same thing. But yeah, your saw was much, the intricacy and the pieces that you had. I was like, what is he doing?
Yeah, because I saw the blade.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's good? And
I
then
thought he was making a blowgun. I thought it was literally, a weapon. I thought, oh, he's got darts. This is going to be cool. And then, then I saw the blade. And I was going, oh, okay. What about trail cams, Justin? You ever use any trail cams? You believe in them?
I used to use them. I've never really caught anything that crazy on them. Like there was the one time where I had set it up at that tree structure site, and then the one tree structure that I was trying to film with it fell down, but the camera didn't even pick it up,
Right.
like falling down. And then there was like one instance where a pine marten was like chewing at the camera and messing with it. And I didn't know what it was at first. It looked like a hand or an arm going across the camera lens. I'm like, holy crap, this could be Bigfoot. And people were like, yeah, this could be it. And then I was able to get a better shot of this pine marten. And I actually filmed it falling out of the tree. It fell from probably about 20 feet and hit the ground.
Oh my.
Yeah.
That's I don't think I saw that one. Here we go.
Yeah, that was a couple years ago.
TFV, good friend of the show. Justin, do you plan to come to the States to do any investigating by chance?
I would like to. I would like to go to Washington and Oregon, but this is going to have to be whenever the world gets less crazy.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Do we let Canadians in? I know y'all don't let us in.
I'm pretty sure that you guys let Canadians in, but
we can't go see you though. Yeah.
It would be silly to do it now anyways. Like,
yeah, no doubt.
Well, everything is shutting down again, unfortunately. Wendy McDonald asks, how receptive are Canadian friends? I guess that's what that is. I'm sorry, Wendy. Open to are they open to it? And how does the government respond? Have you had any interactions with the government? Like
pertaining to Bigfoot?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure that what she means is, are Canadians more open, especially in your area, to what you're doing? Do you get a better response out of them, or is it the crazy Americans?
I mean, I've had pretty good luck, I think. Like when I explain to people what I like to do, like usually people are more interested in what I do than, thinking I'm a straight up weirdo. As far as like the government goes, like I've never had any. Like I used to work in forestry as a wildland firefighter, and even the people working like at the forestry office were always super interested in what I was doing, and very nice to me, and like always wanting to like learn about what I've done and where I've been, and there's never any negative experience.
Well, it is to my experience that luck is the residue of design. So I think just the fact that you put out a very palatable product, anybody that knows you is going to be receptive to whatever you have to say. That's just kind of the way I see it. I think most people that act hokey and kooky are going to get treated that way, and probably rightfully so.
And there's also such an honesty, Justin, in your work and how often you've debunked yourself, that when you do have that footage, it's going to be believable because of the track record of your channel and what you've done. So my hat's off to you on that. You've inspired me. I'm glad Carrie let me sit in tonight because, I just wanted to say, you're making me think different how to approach some of my works. And you make me want to, follow a little bit in your footsteps of being more. Carrie's been talking to me on the side about this too. Like, I don't like to talk so much, mainly because all the channels I do, they do, and then they all start sounding like a broken record. Here's an X, here's a bend, here's this, and I find myself thinking that, and I know what I would sound like saying it, so I just walk and show it. And Carrie's saying, yeah, but you need context, and I want to hear what you're thinking. So you taught me with your writing on it's okay to tell the viewer what you're thinking, because Bradley was kidding about, or Carrie with the opening, watching you eat. But you did have content in there, I mean, I read what was going through your mind. I actually felt it. I felt the passage of time, and I felt like I was there. And it's all about the pacing, and your pacing's just spot on. So hats off to you, and I'm glad I finally got to meet you.
Thank you.
Definitely,
I appreciate that.
Definitely feel the wear that
Mhm.
it's the toll that it's taking on you.
Yeah.
That's what I got out of it. Is you will really disseminate that well. Is the toll that this trip is putting on you. You just the way we talked about the fire with you sitting there and you're eating, you just look worn out, you know, and,
Yeah.
and you might be, I don't know. You're pretty healthy kid, you know. I say kid, you're younger than I am. I know you're not a kid, just saying.
Oh,
You're a healthy guy. You're a lot younger than us.
Yes, you are.
It's good stuff. Keep it
Wow.
going.
But and I think what Carrie just said is you know, it's just the karma that you put out, or there's just something about it that, you know, and I'll tell you, for instance, and this will be the last one I say, but when you were making the coffee, I don't know why, but it looked like I kind of thought, I wonder, that's probably really good coffee. The way it looks like you put so much time and effort and thought into how you were going to do it. That, you know, and myself, if it was me, I would just be, you know, I got to find a Dr. Pepper out here, you know, or, you know, where's the Starbucks, you know, in my app, you know, where's the locator thing? So it just shows that you put a lot of thought into what, you know, to every step that you're doing, even if it's the smallest step. And I think that's pretty cool. So
It's like I said, it's what makes me watch it all the way through.
Yeah, when you get out into the bush and you realize you actually have a lot of time on your hands, like if you get to your location and then you're like, okay, well now I got to spend a couple days here, then you'll film anything, like, you know, film myself tying my shoes or something.
You still got to set that up, though. That's the thing. It's not you're just not just showing yourself, and I think that's part of knowing how to make a film that's, like I said, palatable, because you can put things out there. You could put stuff out there that people's like, what in the hell is he doing? But you don't do it that way. You provide what we're missing in the interim. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, and then with the avalanche or whatnot, you can, you know, when you put out, what was it, within the week of, you know, here's the raw footage of what I saw. This is why I think it's that.
Yeah.
That added a ton to it.
Yeah.
I like
yeah,
that.
My biggest problem with the film is that in the beginning where it says Mountain Beast Mysteries, I misspelled mountain.
Oh, did you?
I did. I did,
that.
but I didn't take it down. I just left it.
Oh, that's funny.
I've done that. I won't say
that hurts. That hurts. No,
it really does.
That mistake is there.
That's in one of our films. I won't say where it is exactly, but yeah.
Ooh, win a prize.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, find it. I'll tell you what, it's in Sisters of the Moon. It's in that one. Go find it. Find it, and I'll give you $10. I don't know. Mr. Lee 3PO, can Bradley tell me where he got that loud shirt? It doesn't say loud. I said loud. I'd like to buy one.
Ralph Lauren.
Turn your shirt down, Brad. We can't hear. What? Ralph Lauren?
Ralph Lauren. In New York, actually. So.
Ooh.
It's very Aztec.
It is loud.
It's Aztec contemporary. Oh, Vicky says follow up with a Depends ad. That's probably not a bad idea.
Oh, after you eat your noodles?
Well, after he catches the Bigfoot on film and puts 100 ads in there, make sure you get that Depends ad in there. That's pretty funny, Vicky. Good job. The Squatching Cowboy. What kind of drone do you use, Justin?
Mavic Mini.
We got the Mavic.
Yeah, in Canada, it has to be under 250 grams. Otherwise, you have to get a special license for it. So that's
weird.
They just released the second version of it, too. But the image quality is great.
Mm-hmm.
Like those really cool shots I pulled off in Supernatural Sasquatch Part 2 last spring, that was all shot on that drone. And it looks really good. And it's a small, light package. It's easy to carry around when you're hiking.
Yeah, those are great cameras on those DJI any DJI. They have really great cameras. We got the new Mavic Enterprise, and you can actually zoom. You can zoom on that one. And of course, we had the Bosun 320 thermal put on it, and that thing. I'm so ready to get it out there in Florida. There's Leon again. He says, "How long was that scat that Ken had in his freezer? Wasn't a 3-footer, was it?"
I don't know exactly, but I think it was more like a pile.
Okay.
So it twirled.
Was it heavy?
I didn't hold it.
You didn't want to hold it?
Leon, he's got to stir something up always. Thank you, Blake Evans. We appreciate that. Oh my goodness. Brian, I'm just looking. I'm seeing all caps and I'm just hitting them. So here we go. JK NGA. Do you know about Walter Mondale letting Robert Hansen bring the Minnesota Iceman across the border? I thought that was a hoax. Was that a hoax? Have I heard anything about that? I haven't heard anything about this Walter Mondale thing.
This is the one story that I have never really looked into.
Well, Lloyd Pye swore it was real. And he gave this whole, if you ever watch Everything You Know Is Wrong by Lloyd Pye. If you haven't watched that, go watch it, by the way, just to get a little bit of inference in your brain about this subject and what a lot of people feel about it, because a lot of people agree with what he says. He talks about it, seeing it when he was a kid in the early 70s, I think. It was early 70s or late 60s. And he said it was real. You could see blood ribbons coming up from it, and you could tell it was a real whatever. So Sasquatch is real. We do know this. Why couldn't somebody have one on ice? I don't know. But I also heard it was a big hoax thing. So who knows? Because that doesn't go very far.
You got to figure with global warming and the ice melting that one's got to jump up at some point that's been frozen, right? Thoughts? Nah, maybe not. Okay.
I missed it. I'm sorry.
Kind of reminds me of like the Rick Dyer freezer hoax.
You know what? I thought a lot about that. In the very beginning, I was like, somebody must have got to this guy. Because who calls a press conference? Who calls a press conference and says they have this thing and they're going to show it to the world? And then you just stand up there and say, oh, we were just kidding. Who does that? I mean, obviously Rick Dyer does that. But I mean, I thought for a minute, I was like, he's got one and somebody got to him. They said they were going to kill your family if you, this is one of those thoughts that went through my head. And then, so I actually learned a little bit more about who the guy was. And then there we are. That's all I'm going to say about anybody negatively today. David Hayes, Justin, how many people do you have with you? This is a very good question. You take like 30 people with you, don't you?
Yeah, you have a whole crew, right?
It's usually just me. Sometimes I'll go with a couple other members from the Alberta Sasquatch organization. And I've brought out like my best friend. And I've had, girlfriends of the past with me too. Just whoever's available at the time.
That's not why they're girlfriends of the past, though, is it?
No.
A little bit too deep. Okay. He spends too much time in the woods.
Surprisingly not,
Yeah, you got to find that right one wants to go out there with you.
Definitely.
Eastern Canada, Bigfoot there. We know they're there. Have you been there? Have you been anywhere out there?
I drove across Canada last year and all the way back. So I drove through like Ontario all the way to like Prince Edward Island. But I didn't really do any exploring or camping. But there are a lot of stories like the Snellgrove Lake incident where it's in like a couple Monster Quest episodes with Jeff Meldrum. That's a remote lake in Ontario where they were having some strange activity at this cabin. Seemed to be like a really legit case. And recently there's been lots of like audio recordings coming out of Ontario, strange vocalizations. I just posted a video about a new recording a couple weeks ago. So if you haven't seen that, I would check it out.
I did, yeah. That was good.
Yeah, strange.
Very, but it's like when you post something and it's, you know, I usually will watch it the first couple of nights. Yeah.
Brad's going to be on it for sure. I'll watch it. I'll watch them whenever I get to them. I always get the notifications though, but definitely.
I carry the camera, so I watch the videos.
Brad's not going to let me not watch it. That's the thing. He's going to say, did you see Justin's new film yet? I'm like, no, man, not yet. I ain't even got the notification. You probably got the notification as soon as you put it out. So, so I can't not watch them. But we're gonna wrap it up here shortly. We'll take one more question from the chat. Justin, we really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us and go over some of what you got coming up. And so glad that you got guys like you and Matt Larson are out there doing it, because I'm not going to do it. If I had the time to go out and try to look for and film Bigfoot, I still wouldn't do it. So glad it's you guys that are doing this. EM Taylor again. Will Justin and his dad ever go out in the field together to investigate? Your dad had an experience, right?
I would take him out to the Rockies and try and get out as far as possible into these locations. He's not like, he used to be very outdoorsy, and like back when I was a kid, we would go out into the mountains and go fishing all the time and do stuff like that. But nowadays he's pretty like relaxed and doesn't get out much. He lives in Saskatchewan, and where he lives, it's all like farmland and prairies.
So he's not mad at stuff that much anymore.
What's that?
I said he's not mad at stuff that much anymore, like hunting or whatnot.
Not really, no.
Yeah, see, that's kind of what I'm not that. I don't want to shoot much stuff anymore. Just been there, done it. Unless it's bigger than what's on my wall, I'm just watch it.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick. Oh, go ahead, Justin.
I was just going to say there's one other thing I wanted to mention. Doesn't really have to do with Bigfoot specifically, but like recently I caught wind from, well, you, Carrie, about that Sasquatch Chronicles email.
Yes.
There's somebody out there pretending to be me, emailing people, and like, who knows what that's about? Who knows who that is? Somebody trying to like stop me from, I guess, expanding and growing on the internet.
Well, Wes Germer, this is just what he does. He doesn't ask anybody. If he watches your stuff and he likes it, he puts links to your stuff in the blog there. And I think maybe what might have happened is they thought that he was stealing your stuff. Like he was getting something out of it, but that's not it. He just genuinely wants to get the awareness out about Bigfoot. And anybody that does anything noteworthy in the subject, he puts on his blog. And he got an email from the team at Mountain Beast Mysteries, and I was talking to him about this. And I said, no, Justin has no team. It's just him. There's no team. He wouldn't refer to himself that way. And he was like, well, I had gotten an email from him before thanking me for putting stuff out there. And I was like, it didn't make any sense. But if you talk to him, make sure you ask him. So that's when I messaged you that someone's out there fronting on you, man, saying, and he said it was pretty ugly. Did you talk to him actually?
Yeah, he said it was, he didn't send me the email yet, but he said it was bad. And I'm like, if I find out who these people are, I'm coming after them.
Get them.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. I mean, these people are never going to reveal themselves. They're way, way too afraid.
I mean, maybe they were just trying to like make sure nobody's stealing my stuff, but it is the Bigfoot community, so it's probably somebody trying to ruin me. That's more likely that someone doesn't want your stuff out there. And I mean, who knows? It's there's no shortage of people that are going to rail it. The people that love you today will hate you tomorrow. It's a government black ops program. Shut us down.
They're watching you. You're being watched.
They're listening to Sasquatch Chronicles.
Right.
You know, I work with 4 investigative reporters at the station. So it'd be interesting if the Men in Black did, if I even got close to anything where they started messing with me, because I mean, that validates something right there. And we have the people and the technology that would probably be interested at that point. And I don't think anybody would want them to draw interest to it anymore. So I kind of laugh when I hear that, but like, I wonder what would happen being that I work in news media and something like weird started happening with me with black sedan cruising by my house, because I think a lot of people would really take notice and want to figure out what's going on.
I tend to think that it's not the government so much.
Right.
You know, the government is for the most part bad at everything. So I don't think it's them. I'm more thinking that if it is anybody, it's special interest groups, logging industry, maybe parks and recreation, people like that.
Lobbyists.
Yeah, lobbyists. I think that's going to be more. If it is anybody, and we do hear things, that it's going to be them. I want everybody to see this. Bradley Hatcher gave me this as soon as we got in the truck, and this is I love this thing. Is so awesome.
Oh.
It's a heretic. If you get a chance to get one, it's legal. I don't want to hear that. It's the state of Texas. This is legal. So
yeah, it is.
But I just sit and mess with this thing. So, yeah, he got himself one too. So I use it every day. So we're not getting paid by them, but go get you one of these knives.
Opening mail. I mean,
it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, they're good knives. One question I saw in here: do you carry like a spot locator or any type of emergency GPS device, Justin, when you're out there?
I'm sure.
I had a Garmin Explorer on the last trip, so it was sending a ping out every like 10 minutes or something, and so whoever had like the email link for that device could track where I was, and then I could send text messages out.
Yeah, those are good ideas. My wife calls them the oh shit gauge. It's like if when I used to go when I used to go hunting by myself, you'd always want to have that thing clipped where if you fell down or broke a leg, just whatever, you could hit the button and they're going to come get you.
Yeah.
So.
And who's they?
Yeah. Well, and I always wondered why my wife, whenever I looked at it, there was never any batteries in it when I was by myself. So I don't know.
Yeah, I got to make sure the insurance policies are updated.
Yes, sir.
But
yes, sir.
Hey, Justin, thanks for coming on, man. It's always good to have you here.
Yeah, it's great. I appreciate it.
Sure, everybody enjoys your stuff. Make sure you check out the link in the description. Donate to Mountain Beast Mysteries.
And subscribe.
And like, share, subscribe, comment, because they changed the algorithm. So if you're watching this right now, hit the thumbs up or the thumbs down. It doesn't matter. It does the exact same thing. Susan Wojcicki made sure of that. Hit either one and make a comment, and just say test or whatever, because it's going to help push us out there to more people. Go check out Central Florida Bigfoot on YouTube. Mr. Matt Larson makes excellent videos. It's probably the clearest stuff you're going to see when it comes to actual Bigfoot evidence and just the woods in general. And
getting close.
Of course, Mountain Beast Mysteries. Go subscribe there. Thanks again, Justin, for coming on.
Thank you, Justin. It's been great.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Good night, everybody. Y'all be sweet.